Who are the greatest NBA players of all time? What is up, Pack Nation? It is Pack here. In today's video, I'm covering exactly that. Now, I want to say something off the bat. I am not giving my opinion at all. Zero. Like, none of this is my list. My list looks pretty different from this, but I'm getting the best ratings in 2K of all players of all time and giving a list from 1 to 10 saying who were the greatest players ever. That's what I'm doing. Now, there's a lot of players in this list that have the same rating. Like, a lot of players have 98, a lot of players have 99. The way I determine that is the intangible rating. If you have a lower intangible rating, that means that you're better because it took less intangible ratings. I know it's a little complicated, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but intangible is basically a way to manipulate ratings. And the lower it is, the more pure your rating is. So these people, the lower your intangible rating is, the less it's forcing you to have a specific rating, which means you're better, right? And then if people had the same intangible rating, then I would use the number of badges the player has, because that means you're better at more things. And that's the most I'm going to do with that. I'm stretching a little bit, but this is the best I can do for this video. Before this video starts, if you're one of the 57% of viewers who watch these videos and is not subscribed, don't be lame, be an OG, join the Pack Nation, and subscribe. 2 players are missing from this list. First is Hakeem OlAjuwon, 98 overall, did not make it on the list because his intangible rating was too high, and same thing goes with Oscar Robertson. Both barely miss out on the list. Now, we're getting this list started at number 10 with Wilt Chamberlain. Now, Wilt Chamberlain, as we already know, is a dude that averaged 50 points in one season. He scored 100 points in a single game, which is unfathomable. He had 26 rebounds in one season per game, which is insane. He had a ridiculous vert. He was ahead of his time. Now, this dude also played 48 minutes a game, an entire basketball game. He almost did that for his entire career, and it was with guys like these that were guarding him, but guys like Bill Russell were bodying him, and that's why he only won 2 NBA championships. He was a 4-time MVP. He secretly played in the NBA when he was like 16 years old. He had 100,000 women as girlfriends. He's Otto Porter's secret father, and he's technically the GOAT of volleyball. Like, there's a lot of things going for Wilt Chamberlain, but at the end of the day, championships matter, and he only won 2, and he got bodied by Bill Russell almost every single season of his career, and that's why he's only at number 10. At number 9, it is Shaquille ONeal. Now, he is a 98 overall in NBA 2K20, has a low intangible rate, and has 21 badges, making him 9th best in the game. Now, Shaq is the most dominant player in NBA history. Like, in Shaq's prime, there was nobody ever better than his prime in that moment. That's how good he was. 4-time NBA champion, 3-time finals MVP. He had 15 really good seasons. A lot of people say that Shaq, if he took care of his body a little bit more, he would have been better, but Shaq really did have like 15 genuinely good seasons. He just played less minutes because he couldn't run as much, but he still produced at a very high rate for so long. And the difference is, when you look at his stats, you look at him and you go, they're good, but there's guys that have similar. David Robinson and Hakeem OlAjuwon have basically identical stats to Shaq, so why is Shaq considered better than them? It's simple. Shaq was being triple teamed like every possession, and it didn't matter. He was basically getting fouled every time, and it didn't matter. Shaq was still getting those numbers, and that's why he's at number 9 on this list. And if he was a little more healthier throughout his career, maybe he would be higher on this list. Up next, at number 8, it is Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, as we all know, is probably the most fundamentally sound player in NBA history. Probably the best power forward of all time. 5-time NBA champion, 2-time MVP, 3-time finals MVP, 18 really good seasons in the NBA. Like, he lasted such a long time. 15-time all defensive team, which I believe is a record all time.
No way. That's insane.
He was the captain of the Spurs, and he was the reason the Spurs succeeded for so long. Tim Duncan was a winner. He's a 98 overall, 28 badges. This dude had the nastiest bank shot ever. One of my favorite players of all time, at number 8 spot on the greatest players of all time list. At number 7 on the list, it is 98 overall, Larry Bird, with 44 badges, with the same intangible rating as Shaq and Tim Duncan. So Larry Bird is a 3-time NBA champion, 2 times finals MVP, 3 times MVP, 3-time all defense, and he never in his career had a bad season. Even when he was having major back problems, he never had a bad season in his career. Larry Bird is one of the most extremely competitive players of all time, one of the best trash talkers. He literally had a whole game where he only used his left hand and dominated against the Hawks. He was a winner, and I know that a lot of people go, let's be real for a second. Larry Bird is a white man who most people consider to be very overhyped because he was this white guy, and so people just loved him to death. There was a big following community behind him. I mean, he only won 2 Finals MVPs of the 3 championships that he won, so he wasn't even the best player every single time. But no, the guy's hunger, determination, skill, and in an age where the NBA was developing and more and more athletic people were coming in, Larry Bird was still able to play the way he was playing and dominate, and that is ridiculous for a guy his build and athleticism. The next player at number 6 of the greatest players of all time, it is Kobe Bean Bryant. Rest in peace to the guy. He is the 6th greatest NBA player of all time. This is the closest we're ever going to get to Michael Jordan ever again. Nobody is going to get even sniff that kind of talent than Kobe Bryant. 5-time NBA champion, 2 times finals MVP, scored 60 points as 37 years old, and he was barely able to walk. 12-time all defense, so underrated defensively. He was actually really good defensively, and nobody really talks about that. And scored 81 points in a game, which is the closest anyone's ever going to get to Wilt Chamberlain's 100, probably. Averaged 35 points per game in a single season.
You're welcome.
This dude was insane. Probably the hardest worker in NBA history, and is the closest we're ever going to get to Michael Jordan ever again. At number 5 on the list, it is Bill Russell, 98 overall, with a 56 intangible rating, which is lower than any other 98 overall in the game. Now, Bill Russell, if you ask what is the most important thing about basketball, it is winning. And Bill Russell was the king of winning. 11 NBA championships. He could fit more rings than what he could on his hands. This dude was a winner. He was never an elite offensive scorer. As a center, he didn't have a great field goal percentage, and he was only averaging about 20 points a game in like 48 minutes of the time. But it was the defense that he could do. It was the rebounding that he could do. He was a 5-time MVP. Probably the best rebounder of all time, a great playmaker as a center. He bought into the system, and he was a winner. That's what matters. He was literally the only guy that could keep up with Wilt Chamberlain at the time, and he won. That's how good he is. Now at number 4, it is Kareem AbdulJabbar, one of the only guys we can consider the GOAT ever. There's only a couple people I could ever consider that, and that is Kareem AbdulJabbar. He is a 99 overall with the highest intangible of all other 99 overalls in this game. He scored the most points ever in NBA history put together. Well, he had the most unstoppable move in NBA history with the skyhook. To this day, nobody has been able to stop that move. He was a 6-time NBA champion, and even though he only had 2 finals MVPs, he was still a 6-time MVP, 11-time all defense, and he had 19 really good seasons in the NBA. He was consistent. He lasted a long time. He was a captain. He was a hard worker. If there's a bar you want to set for how good you want to be in your career, Kareem is that bar. He was amazing. At number 3, it is Magic Johnson, 99 overall, 3-time MVP, 5-time champion, 3-time finals MVP. The only time he didn't win it is because there was another guy called Kareem AbdulJabbar that was on his team. He was the greatest point guard of all time, greatest playmaker of all time. He almost averaged a triple-double for his entire career. He missed 4 seasons in the NBA because he got HIV, survived HIV, came back, and was able to get that team that he was going into to somehow make him into the playoffs, and still had really good stats that season after missing 4 seasons. He came into the league as a rookie, made it to the NBA Finals. Kareem went down. He had to play center for the Lakers and won the championship as Finals MVP as a rookie. He also saved the NBA and was one of the most charismatic players of all time. Magic Johnson is special, and that's why he's 3rd best all time according to 2K in the NBA. At number 2, you guys are gonna get mad, Michael Jordan. Just an absolute killer. I'd argue the most clutch player in NBA history, the most competitive player in NBA history. Had 5 MVPs, 6 finals MVPs, 6 championships to go with that. 9-time all defensive player as a guard. Most points per game ever throughout his entire career with 30.1 points per game as an average for his career. Michael Jordan was so good that I don't think anybody will ever reach that height ever again in terms of perfection. This dude was so good. When this dude finally got another all-star on his team with Scottie Pippen, he had 3 NBA championships back to back to back, left to play baseball, came back rusty. The next season after that, won another 3 back to back to back, and then retired again. That's how good Michael Jordan is. Like, that's crazy. He only had 13 real seasons in the NBA, and every season he killed it. But at number 1, it is actually LeBron James. LeBron James has more badges than Michael Jordan. Even though they have the same intangible rating, they have the same rating. He has more badges than Michael Jordan, so it's very close. Listen, LeBron James is a 3-time NBA champion. He is a 3-time Finals MVP, 6-time All-Defense so far, 4-time MVP, 3 and 6 in the finals. That is the one that people hang over his head. However, Michael Jordan did not have to go against a Warriors team as LeBron James has, and then the other one that he lost against the Warriors, his 2 best players were missing. LeBron James has had to go through some really tough fights in the finals, usually being the underdog and somehow pulling through 3 times. He has had some bad moments against the Mavericks where he choked it. Yes, he did. And then with the Spurs, a team that he beat, somehow he got beat badly the next year. So that happened twice. But with the Warriors, I don't really hold those against him because, well, Michael Jordan never had to face teams like that before. According to 2K, LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. And it's hard not to see why LeBron James can do absolutely everything on a basketball court. Okay, that's it for this video, you guys. Do you guys agree with 2K or disagree? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like my channel, give it a sub. And I'll see you guys next time.